All right, let's go ahead and jump back into the Bitcoin price action. Now that the week for traditional finance has opened, we have seen a lot of violent price swings since I uploaded my last video, while at the same time landing us right at about the same price as yesterday. But we certainly got more to talk about with traditional finance being opened. We'll talk about the dollar, the S&P, as well as the Russell 2K because we do see some clear correlations going on there. But let's go ahead. First off, I am partnered with BingX. We're still running that event right now. Links in the description down below if you do want to go check that out and win some rewards. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start off here with the Bitcoin price action. And as we can see right now, we are respecting levels very well after doing these volatile swings. We had talked about the golden pocket to 786 is the level we wanted to hold for a bullish correction. We got all the way down to that kind of last line of support right within the top side of this order block here on those hourly candles, getting back above that 618 and back testing it back into support, and also back testing this volume level as well as previous sweep levels that we had talked about in the last video. So getting that clean back test is what I love to see on the charts, but we're still just stuck in this range right now. I wouldn't be kind of fumbling in long or anything like that because these lows, very good chance they get swept to the downside now. The fact that we have made all of these wicks down here, I'm sure there's a lot of liquidity building. It would not surprise me to continue some of this volatility and to potentially range break to the downside, even if we are bullish, or if we are bearish to range break to the upside before reversing back into the mean. I would be watching out for something like that. I would say so far so good though. The fact that we're holding these volume levels tells me the buying pressure might just be enough to hold us out of these lower levels. And let's go ahead and talk about that buying pressure over here on Trading Light, because this move up we had last night on the charts I thought for sure was a short squeeze just because of how violently it happened. Usually this is cascading liquidations to the upside, but no, this was actually a lot of buying pressure. Obviously a lot of it was a short squeeze as well. It was kind of a combination of both, but we do see a bunch of limit sell walls within here. 700 Bitcoin wall, 600 Bitcoin wall, 300 Bitcoin wall, a lot of other sell walls, selling pressure, limiting into the order books here at the lows, and price just rips through it. You can see these orders are in fact getting filled. These buy imbalances on our footprint chart into these walls, they are getting filled. 1,500 Bitcoin right into this wall, as well as just thousands of Bitcoin pushing up price even after escaping those walls. So we have big buying pressure pushing up into these walls, then more big buying pressure up top, forcing these guys to probably close out of their short positions. And that's why we saw this kind of just sharp move to the upside. And because we had all of that buying pressure creating those candles, it shows me this was more of a bullish indication than anything. Obviously, we want to confirm that the buyers are consistent, though. We don't just want buyers to step in for one candle and then get exhausted. And while this did happen kind of immediately after we made these candles, you can see open interest here very violently comes up and then tops out here, starts trending down. Positions are now closing out before squeezing back down. You can see open interest dropping means a lot of these longs were now squeezed out of the market. So we want to watch this to make sure buyers are stepping in. We do see here at the bottom of the wick, we had a lot of buyers stepping in, overpowering these shorts. A lot of shorts, a lot of buyers in the order books right now. Tons of volume on Binance at least. But once again, just like yesterday, it's very 50-50 when, looking at order flow, the footprint chart. In the middle of a range we just talked about, we got these sweep levels to the downside right here. If we were to range break, watching for something like that, as well as I should put in a sweep level for the top of this wick. It would actually be where the single prints are, and that's why I don't have a sweep level, because I can just look at the single prints. So I would be cautious here, not entering positions in the middle of a range, at least on leverage. If you were to enter something, shorts are going to be taken here, longs are going to be taken down here. And the important part is when we do break the range, is it going to be a backtest and continuation higher, or is it going to be a sweep structure backtesting back into resistance being bearish? Same thing with the downside, right? Let's see which kind of scenario does play out here, and that will give us more clear indication on where price action is likely to go. But we do have some indications on the macro that are more bullish. So if we jump out here to the daily time frame, we have that nice swing failure pattern of this entire range that we've been cooking in for almost 6 months now. A breakdown from this range and a reclaim as support is what we want to see. If you look at Wyckoff accumulation patterns, this is actually something in that schematic. You have this secondary breakdown and then a reclaim of the level before sending on up much higher, very similar to like what we had down here at $30,000. You can see big accumulation range. We break to the downside on a swing failure pattern within here, and this is actually when we had our last daily bullish divergence. That's what that trend is for. Very similar price action that we're seeing right now, sweeping the lows of this macro range with that 1 day bullish divergence, just like we have up here on price. And that's another thing I was going to talk about, is that we're still holding this 1-day bullish divergence on your RSI there. So as you can see, lower lows on price, higher lows on RSI. That is a very good indication. This is something that can indicate macro lows, just like it did all the way back down in here during 2023. So when we're zoomed out, things actually look very good right now, but I want to keep cautioning that we are not out of the woods yet. We haven't truly reclaimed the range. I would say this is the volume that we want to reclaim. If we can get back above this, hold it as support. That's the important part, right? We need to back test it as support, or at a minimum, just not swing fail back under it and back test as resistance. We just want continuation higher, and then I will be able to confirm that this was in fact your low down here and that we are not going to flip bearish. But even in the most bearish scenario, I still would fully expect to come up here, squeeze out those late shorts, clean out this range we had in here before continuing down. So still being very cautious in the market, still want to keep a close eye. We're still at a very critical level for Bitcoin. There is always the chance the bull market is kind of over and a left translated cycle has already played out. We have seen meme coins rallying. It could be somewhat of a failed cycle. I don't want to say that's not possible, but I am still team bull and I'm still betting on much higher prices. I guess not much higher prices. I know a lot of people are thinking 6 figures. While I do think that's certainly possible, that's not my base case. Currently right now, my big two levels to watch out for are 64,500 up at the volume and liquidity there, as well as all-time high for just an upthrust after distribution, $75,000 to $80,000. If we got a swing failure up there, that would be something I'm going to be watching out for. But you can't predict the markets, you can only react. So we'll be continuing to do that every day here on the channel. So make sure to subscribe if you do enjoy the content. But let's go ahead and jump out of Bitcoin, talking about the stock market, the dollar, and then we'll finish off with the altcoins as well. Firstly, let's start off with the S&P here, just continuing the parabola to the upside, not really showing any sign of weakness, especially when you are looking at those higher time frames. On the weekly here, you can see it's kind of making the final angle of attack within this parabola that we've been in all the way since actually 1964. If we go to the monthly time frame, this is a very scary chart because parabolas don't last forever, and you know this is rolling over at some point, which is going to probably lead us into the next Great Depression. But you know, the final phases of a parabola are the most euphoric and the most violent, so I do expect some pretty serious gains ahead of us, at least in the very short term. Will it last through 2025 like most people are expecting? I'm not going to count on it, but I certainly do think at least another couple months of the S&P ripping to the upside here makes a whole lot of sense, which will of course help Bitcoin and crypto. But what we want to see is actually expansion in your risk on assets, because Bitcoin hasn't really been respecting the S&P while it's been moving up here the last couple of months. Bitcoin's just been stalling, very similar to what the Russell is doing. So the Russell is more of your low cap stocks in the stock market, so more of your risk on assets, and it seems like Bitcoin is also acting like a risk on assets. This range in here does look a lot more like Wyckoff accumulation though than something like Bitcoin, because we are still backtesting the top side of the bear market range within here, and as long as we can hold this as support and get through the value area lows of our previous bull market, if we can get through this stuff, we are going to be looking to potentially go up here on the Russell as soon as we can confirm these highs through the top side of the range, and we are getting to a breaking point in my opinion. This is going to break to the upside or downside very soon here, and this is what will kind of decide Bitcoin's fate. If we jump in here all the way to the hourly time frame, I have drawn out the volume levels for this entire range. This is that value area high that we want to see a break of and a back test continuation, giving clear skies for Bitcoin to go into complete price discovery into 6 figures, for the altcoin market to have an entire alt season where it also goes into price discovery on total 3 and others. But once again, we need to stay cautious. I would not be surprised if we get a swing failure of this, just like I was talking about on Bitcoin, that upthrust after distribution, just to swing fail to all-time highs and then come back within. If we did see something like that on Bitcoin, could also have the confluence here on Russell, so we'll be staying cautious for that. And of course, there's the chance we don't even make it up there and we do just kind of reject off value area high once again and come crashing down on the Russell. If we did reject here though, we got volume below us, could make sense to go test value area low, because this did not really get tested after shooting up here. The Russell was also a catalyst for Bitcoin kind of shooting up with that buying pressure that we talked about on Trading Light. A lot of that was confluenced with the Russell. I think a lot of market participants saw the Russell doing this and went ahead and forced price up on Bitcoin, so this certainly caused some of the volatility, and it is a good sign to see the Russell is starting to break to the upside and not just failing this level. This is very good to see. Let's see if we can get that continuation though, because we haven't quite escaped the range. We want to backtest this stuff into support, and then we can talk about where Bitcoin's going to go after that. Are we just going to go into a retracement? Are we going to swing fail all-time highs or go all the way to six figures, $300,000? We will talk about that more if the time comes, but as of right now, let's just focus on escaping this range on the Russell and on Bitcoin. Assuming we can do that, it is going to be looking very, very bullish. Now, something else we can be looking at is the US dollar, because we had drawn out this kind of wedge that we have here. This downtrend does go all the way back to the end of 2022, whereas we have been trending up on the dollar since the beginning of this year. This has been another reason why Bitcoin probably just hasn't been breaking out, because the dollar's been going up. The dollar is inversely correlated to Bitcoin, so we want to see this actually break down, start back testing this as resistance for the chance of Bitcoin going to six figures. We don't want to see this coming back up, getting a break to the upside on this. That would not look good, and I don't even want to go test this again. I really want to see, potentially somewhere around this daily EMA to go ahead and flip into resistance, and this is where we can see Bitcoin shooting back on up, going for those all-time highs once again. And if we do look at our shorter term time frames, if I just draw a horizontal support line, this is a pretty clear identified level that could be back tested as resistance. So let's see if we can flip this into resistance, get under this trend, and assuming we can do so, that is another thing that will just give us clear skies when it comes to crypto, Bitcoin, and our risk on assets. Speaking of our risk on assets, let's talk about the altcoin market, because this is something that was at a very critical level in the last video, actually under that critical level. The sweep of this wick we made back in April, getting back above this now after getting a very nice bounce off this weekly EMA coming in there. And on the daily time frame, we just need to see this range getting flipped back into support, ideally getting back above this level right here. And this is where your big altcoin season is going to happen, where all of your alts should kind of run. We are seeing certain plays go, but we definitely need to escape this range. We need to see expansion into the Russell for the majority of your alts to start running, not just a few and not just 20 or 30%. We want to see 200, 300% out of altcoins, and to do that, let's see if we can get the range break to the upside. But that break to the upside is not guaranteed, especially where we are right now. We have not confirmed anything. We need to see these daily candles start confirming back above. I want to see multiple day closes back above sweep level, but assuming we can do that, this is going to look structurally pretty good. Just a grab of all that liquidity, a full flush before the next phase of the altcoin season, and I think we got a good shot at getting it. But once again, we're in the middle of a range on Bitcoin. I would not be surprised to see a range break to the downside, a quick fake out to sweep the liquidity in here before continuing on up, as well as potentially a range break to the upside and a deviation back within. And this is actually kind of more bearish in my opinion. The fact that we have more of these poor highs up here all at the same level tells me they could be saving this for later. Those single prints that we talked about over here on Trading Light, I think those are going to get grabbed at some point. So if we do come down here before grabbing that, could be a signal that we are going to go ahead and go for it later, and this is just going to be a bullish flush. So lots to think about on the charts, but still very 50-50. Got to take it day by day, hour by hour. But if you do have any questions about anything I talked about, or just want to join the community for this channel, link to my Discord is in the description down below. Also down there, you will find a sign up and event link for BingX, so make sure to go use both of those links and get registered to earn some really awesome rewards on a great exchange. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.